My name is Anita Washington. I'm 31 years old, and last week I learned that silence can be just another kind of betrayal. Simon and I had been together for a year and a half. He was 29, charming, in that quiet, deliberate way that makes you believe he actually listens when you talk. We'd been living together for about 6 months, long enough to know each other's morning habits, short enough that we still said love you before hanging up the phone. To most people, we looked solid, predictable, safe. I thought so too. That Friday morning, Simon kissed me on the forehead before heading out. "I'll be back Sunday night," he said, slipping his duffel over his shoulder. "Matt's baby finally came early. Mom wants me there to help out." I smiled half asleep and murmured, "Tell your brother congrats, and send me a picture of the baby." He grinned. "You got it, babe." The door clicked shut. The apartment went still. I didn't think much of it. We'd built trust, or at least I thought we had. Simon wasn't perfect, but he wasn't the type to lie, or so I told myself. The last argument we'd had was months ago, when we debated whether keeping secrets counted as lying. He'd laughed and said, "It's not lying if I just don't mention it. Everyone's entitled to privacy." I remember staring at him, half amused, half confused. "So if you leave something out, that's fine. Depends on the intent," he said. Why create drama if the truth doesn't change anything? At the time, I let it go, but that line would come back to haunt me. Saturday afternoon, I met my best friend Tara at a cafe near downtown. She's the kind of person who always finds something juicy online before anyone else. Halfway through our coffee, she gasped, "Anita, isn't that Simon?" She turned her phone toward me. An Instagram story posted by someone I didn't know showed a group of people laughing around a bonfire at a cabin. And there he was in the background, Simon, his arm slung casually around someone's chair. I felt my chest tighten. The girl beside him wasn't family. She was Brianna, his ex. Tara's voice went soft. "Isn't that her, the one who cheated on him back then?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, her family owns that lake cabin." Tara bit her lip, unsure if she should scroll further. "You okay?" I sipped my coffee and nodded my hand, trembling just slightly. "Yeah, just thinking." That night, I sat alone on the couch, staring at my phone. The story disappeared after 24 hours, but I had the screenshot saved. I zoomed in his watch, his smile, the familiar jacket I'd bought him last Christmas. He hadn't gone to see his brother. He'd gone to spend the weekend with his ex. I felt the world slow down. There wasn't anger, not yet. Just a cold, deliberate sort of quiet. He once said it's not lying if I just don't mention it. Maybe he was right. Maybe omission was a philosophy worth practicing. I opened my planner, flipped to Sunday, and started writing a list. 1. Box Simon's clothes. 2. Call Ms. Patel about lock changes. 3. Leave his key on the counter. 4. Clean the apartment. Every motion steadied me. Every folded shirt and sealed box replaced the noise in my head with calm purpose. By midnight, our bedroom looked like no one had ever shared it. Sunday came quietly. Around 4 in the afternoon, Simon texted, "Simon, traffic's crazy. Might be home by 7. Me no rush. Drive safe." At 6:47, I heard a faint rattle at the door. Then another. The metallic scrape of a key that didn't fit anymore. "What the hell?" Simon's muffled voice through the door. A knock. "Anita, my key isn't working." I opened the door, calm, collected. "Oh, hey, how is your brother's baby?" He frowned, confused. Fine. What happened to the lock?" "Maintenance issue," I said, handing him a card. "Locksmith's number. Great rates." His confusion twisted into suspicion. "Why do I need a locksmith for my own place?" "Oh, this isn't your place anymore." He blinked like he hadn't heard me right. "What are you talking about?" I gestured toward the hallway. "Your things are in the spare room. Everything's packed, clothes, books, even that stupid blender you love." I bubble-wrapped the glasses. "You're joking." "Nope, just being efficient." He laughed nervously. "You can't just, what is this? Some kind of prank?" I smiled faintly. "No, Simon, I'm just following your philosophy." "What?" "It's not a breakup if I just don't tell you." The silence that followed was thick electric. I could see the realization spreading across his face. Shock, confusion, anger, denial, all crashing together, crashing. "Anita, come on, this is insane." "No, it's selective sharing, remember." He tried to argue to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. "You taught me something important," I said softly, "so I'm teaching it back." He exhaled, frustrated. "You're making a mistake. We could have talked this out." "We are talking," I said evenly, "just not negotiating." For a long moment he stood there, chest rising and falling, searching my eyes for softness. But there wasn't any left. Finally he muttered, "You'll regret this, Anita." I held his gaze. "Maybe, but at least I'll regret it on my own terms." He left. The hallway went silent again. I leaned against the door, breathing slow. Somewhere inside, the ache began, but I refused to let it show. Simon believed in selective sharing, so I shared selectively too. Just enough truth for him to understand he'd lost me, and nothing more. That night, I couldn't sleep. The apartment felt too quiet. No low hum of his late-night podcasts. No faint sound of his phone vibrating on the nightstand. The silence felt heavier than betrayal itself. I got up and made tea, my reflection ghostly in the dark kitchen window. For a moment, I almost texted him, just to ask why, but then I remembered that screenshot, his arm around Brianna, laughing like I never existed. No explanation could make that image disappear. By morning, my resolve hardened. I called Ms. Patel, my landlord. She'd always liked me, said I was one of her few peaceful tenants. Ms. Patel, I need to ask, what's the policy on changing locks? Your name's on the lease, dear. You're free to change them. Just leave me a copy. Perfect, I said, keeping my voice steady. Do you know anyone who works Sundays? I'll text you my guy. And just like that, the locks changed again. By noon, I'd finished cleaning. The boxes of Simon's things were lined neatly in the spare room. I even labeled them kitchen, bedroom, miscellaneous, regrets. At 7:15 p.m., headlights swept across the window. He was home. Then came the familiar footsteps, a jingle of keys, a frustrated sigh, a knock. Anita. My key's not working again. Did the lock jam? I opened the door just enough for him to see my face. Oh, hey, Simon, you made it back early. How is the baby? He froze, sensing something was off. Anita, what's going on? Nothing much. I just had the locks changed. Why? Without telling me. Because I didn't want to create unnecessary drama. His jaw tightened. Tess, can I please come in? We can talk. I stepped aside not to invite him in, but to reveal the spare room. Stacked boxes. His entire life in 4 neat piles. You packed my stuff, everything. Even that blender you said I never used, right? He laughed once bitterly. You're unbelievable. I went to help my family, and this is what I come home to. Funny, I said quietly. Because your family's last name isn't Morrison, right? That's Brianna's family. The color drained from his face. How did you? Instagram, cabin. Her brother tagged you in a story. You didn't even bother hiding it. He looked away, muttering, it wasn't what it looked like. It never is. For a moment, he looked small, shoulders sagging, eyes darting as if searching for a version of me that would still believe him. But she didn't exist anymore. You can't just throw me out, Anita. I live here. Lived. Past tense. He tried to sound composed. Legally, I have rights. You can't just... You're not on the lease, Simon. You were a guest. His eyes hardened. You've really thought this through. I had a whole weekend. He rubbed his temple, his voice dropping. You're making a mistake. Brianna means nothing to me. We were just talking. Talking, with wine, at her family's lake house. You're twisting it. I needed closure, that's all. I sighed. Closure's overrated, especially when you have to lie to get it. He ran his hands through his hair, his voice cracking slightly. Anita, please, don't do this. I can fix it. I tilted my head. No, Simon. You can't fix what you refuse to tell the truth about. A tense silence fell between us. I could almost see the memory of his own words flicker across his face. It's not lying if I just don't mention it. I smiled faintly. I figured I'd try your philosophy. What? It's not a breakup if I just don't tell you. He stared at me, jaw slack. You can't mean that. I do. You're cruel. No, I whispered. I'm just being selective about who I share my space with. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The hallway light flickered above him, casting long shadows across his face. Finally, he took a deep breath. You'll regret this. I swear you will. I met his eyes steady and calm. Maybe, but I'll regret it on my terms, not yours. He hesitated just long enough for me to see the fury building beneath his skin, then turned and left. The door shut softly behind him. I stood there for a long time, staring at the wood grain of the door. My hands trembled only after I knew he couldn't see. Then slowly I locked the deadbolt again. When the quiet settled back in, I whispered to no one. You wanted privacy, Simon. You got it. Outside, the echo of his engine faded into the night. Inside, I finally exhaled. I should have felt free. But freedom, I was learning, always comes with a silence you have to survive. The first few days after Simon left were strangely peaceful. I woke up to sunlight instead of tension, made coffee without worrying about who left the mug in the sink. I even started humming again, something I hadn't done in months. But peace doesn't last when someone like Simon decides he's the victim. It started subtly. A few mutual friends stopped replying to my texts. Then on the 3rd day, I got a message from a college friend. Hey Tess, I just saw Simon's post. Is everything okay? My heart sank. I opened Facebook, and there it was, his grand announcement to the world. Sometimes the person you trust most turns out to be a stranger. Kicked out of my own home after trying to be there for family. Some people create drama just to feel powerful. Thousands of likes, dozens of comments, sympathy, outrage, and one photo attached a half-packed box with my handwriting on it. The caption read, "When love turns into eviction." I didn't cry. I didn't even get angry. I just stared at the screen, realizing exactly what he was doing. Simon wasn't trying to get me back. He was trying to rewrite the story before I could tell mine. By that evening, my phone was blowing up unknown numbers, aggressive messages. "You can't just throw someone out like trash. You're disgusting. Hope karma finds you. Give him his stuff back, witch." He'd painted me as the villain, and the internet loves a villain. Tara came over the next morning clutching her phone. "You've seen the posts, right?" I nodded. "He's good at it. He knows how to sound broken." She scrolled through his comments. "He's even posting pictures of the lake house, claiming he was there alone, reflecting. Look at the captions, trying to heal from betrayal. What a joke." I laughed bitterly. "He's not healing. He's recruiting an audience." Tara looked at me carefully. "You gonna respond?" I thought for a long moment, then said, "Not emotionally." That night, I posted something simple in the local housing group, the same one where people looked for roommates and apartments. Public notice. If someone named Simon Mercer replies to your roommate ad, please know he believes it's not lying if he just doesn't tell you things. Learned this after he spent last weekend at his ex's lake house while telling me he was visiting family. When I confronted him, I was accused of creating drama. I simply chose to remove the drama from my apartment. Not a lie, just selective sharing, as he calls it. Within hours, the post had over 400 reactions. Half the comments were laughing. The other half were women tagging friends. One comment stood out. Brianna Lee. "Oh my God. Simon Mercer. The same one who told me some truths just make life harder. Girl, I'm so sorry you're not the first." I blinked. Brianna, his ex. I messaged her privately. Within minutes, she replied, "Brianna. He told me he was single when we reconnected. Said his ex moved out months ago. I didn't even know about you. Me. He told me you were just catching up. Brianna classic Simon. Lies by omission. He did it to me, too." We talked for an hour comparing stories, timelines, the same recycled lines he used on both of us. By the end, there was a strange sort of relief between us. Two strangers connected by the same wound. Brianna. He once said he hates people who overshare. Funny, right? Me, hilarious. 2 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Hello, Anita Washington." "Yes, who's this Linda Mercer?" "Simon's mother." I froze. Her tone wasn't angry, just weary. "I'd like to understand what happened between you and my son." I took a breath. "Ma'am, with all respect, I don't think you're calling for understanding. You're calling to hear your son's version from me." There was silence. Then softly, "He said you changed the locks while he was away." "That's true. Without warning." "Also true, but not without reason." I told her about the lake house, the lie, the pattern. By the time I finished, she didn't interrupt once. Finally, she sighed. I thought he'd outgrown that. That, using charm to hide deceit. He's been doing it since high school. Always thinks if he doesn't say the full truth, it doesn't count as lying. My throat tightened. "So this isn't new?" "No," she said quietly. "But it's worse now. He can't stand being ignored." Her voice broke slightly before she added, "Be careful, Anita." Then she hung up. That night, I looked out from my balcony and saw a car parked across the street. Headlights off, engine quiet. For a moment, I thought I imagined it until the faint glow of a cigarette lit the darkness. Simon. He didn't approach. He didn't call. He just sat there watching. I closed my curtains, my pulse steady but cold. The next morning, there was a note taped to my door. No words, just a drawing of a padlock and a heart beside it. The message was clear enough. He wasn't done. I didn't hear from Simon for almost a week after the note, but silence from him never meant peace. It meant plotting. The first sign came as a knock on my door one Tuesday morning. When I opened it, a man in a cheap gray suit stood there holding an envelope. "Miss Washington, yes, you've been served." I blinked. "Excuse me." He handed me a letter stamped Notice of Illegal Eviction. Apparently, Simon was accusing me of unlawful removal of personal property and emotional distress. For a moment, I almost laughed. He really filed paperwork. Tara showed up that afternoon with takeout and 2 bottles of wine. She read the document and whistled. He actually used ChatLaw to fill this out. Look, half of this is copy-pasted from Google. I smirked. At least he's resourceful. Tess, this isn't funny. He's trying to corner you legally. You need a lawyer. I already had someone in mind. My coworker once mentioned her brother handled property disputes. That's how I met Caleb Chen, the kind of lawyer who could find loopholes in a brick wall. When I told him the story, he listened quietly, then leaned back and said, "Sounds like your ex is confusing consequences with cruelty. He's accusing me of theft and harassment. And you have receipts, right?" "Every single one." He smiled faintly. "Then this'll be fun." But Simon didn't stop at legal games. He started sending me friendly emails, short, polite, unnerving. "Hey, Tess, just wanted to make sure you're okay. I know things ended badly, but I still care. Do you still have that navy sweater I left? I can pick it up sometime this week." I ignored them at first, but then he sent another one. "Saw you at the cafe on 8th Street this morning. You look different without your smile." My stomach dropped. I hadn't seen him, but that cafe was 2 blocks from my office. That night, I ordered a full security setup, door cameras, motion sensors, and a smart lock system that would notify me if anyone tried to enter. When the installer left, I sat on the couch and stared at my phone. No missed calls, no messages, just the steady hum of paranoia. The next morning, something was on my doorstep, a small box tied with a red ribbon. Inside, my old toothbrush, a few hairpins, and a note written in his slanted handwriting. "You forgot these. We were happy once. Don't throw that away." I stared at the items, the ribbon shaking in my hands. He wasn't just reminding me of the relationship. He was reminding me that he could reach my door. I called the police. The officer who arrived looked barely 25, nervous and apologetic. "Technically, miss, this isn't harassment yet. He didn't threaten you or enter the property. So he can just leave things like this. Unless there's a direct threat, it's not illegal." I bit back my frustration. "So I just wait until it is—" He didn't answer. When he left, I threw the box into the trash, but the note stayed burned into my mind. That evening, my phone buzzed an email from Caleb. Subject update. "Your ex made a mistake. Body Simon's lawyer. Just attached proof of tenancy. Screenshots of text messages claiming you agreed to co-rent. But their edited timestamps don't match. He's lying and badly." I smiled grimly. "He's sloppy." Caleb replied within minutes. "Sloppy people panic when they lose control. Expect escalation." And he was right. 2 nights later, my security camera pinged at 12:43 a.m. A blurry figure stood outside my door facing the camera directly. He didn't knock. He didn't move. He just stared for 30 seconds, then turned and walked away. I couldn't sleep after that. Every creak of the floorboards made my pulse spike. By morning, I'd made another list. 1. Change my route to work. 2. Record every incident. 3. Never engage again. But it didn't matter. Simon didn't need my words anymore. He'd found a new audience. The next day, I opened social media and found a post from an anonymous account. "Some women hide behind independence to justify cruelty. They'll weaponize heartbreak and call it healing." No name, but the photos were of my apartment building. Tara texted me 2 minutes later. "He's getting bolder. He's trying to scare you." I typed back, "Then I'll scare him with silence." When I met Caleb again that week, he was reviewing files with a small smile. "He sent his mother to confront you, right?" "Yes." "Good. Because now she's a witness to his manipulation pattern." He showed me Simon's contradictory statements, half claiming emotional devastation, half gloating online. "He's unraveling," Caleb said. "People like this don't just want closure, they want control. And when they can't have it," I asked. He looked up, his expression sharp. "They make noise, but noise can't hurt you if you know where it's coming from." That night I came home to find another note taped crookedly to my door. Same handwriting. "If you tell anyone what really happened, I'll make sure they never believe you." I read it twice, then calmly placed it on my kitchen counter, snapped a picture, and sent it to Caleb. His reply came instantly. "This just became a harassment case. We're filing tomorrow." And for the first time in weeks, I felt something that wasn't fear. It was purpose. He thought he was setting me up, but all he was doing was tightening his own noose. By the time we filed the harassment claim, Simon had already shifted from desperate to unhinged. He wasn't trying to win anymore, he was trying to punish. Every morning, I woke up half expecting another note, another fake post, another attempt to twist the story. And almost every time he delivered. He posted screenshots of old texts taken out of context to make it look like I'd cheated. He emailed my coworkers warnings about how unstable I supposedly was. He even made a throwaway Reddit account to share his side of the breakup from hell, painting himself as a victim of a vindictive ex who stole his home. At first, it made me sick. Then it made me tired. Because every lie had a pattern, always enough truth to sound believable, always missing the part that damned him. That's when Caleb called. "You ready for something satisfying?" he asked. "God, please." Simon's brother just reached out. "Matthew Wright, he wants to talk." My pulse spiked. What does he want? To apologize. We met Matthew in a quiet coffee shop 2 days later. He looked nothing like Simon's softer eyes and actual conscience. I didn't know what Simon told you he started, but he used me as an alibi. For the lake house, I asked. Yeah, he told me to say he was with me that weekend. Said you were overreacting about something small. I didn't want to get involved, but when he offered me money, I realized he wasn't just covering up a fight. Caleb leaned forward. He offered you money. Matthew nodded. 500, cash. The number hit me like deja vu. Brianna had mentioned the same amount when he tried bribing her to cover for him last year. Matthew rubbed his face, exhausted. He's done this before. Lies, manipulation, flipping every story. I'm sorry you got caught in it. I sat back, letting out a long breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. You know what's funny? He always said his family was his moral compass. Turns out even that was part of the performance. Matthew grimaced. Mom's devastated. She told him to stop contacting you, but he won't listen. She's even considering filing a restraining order of her own. For the first time, I saw the cracks spreading in Simon's armor, not just losing control over me, but losing his entire web. That night, I got a message from Brianna again. Brianna, you might want to see this. Attached was a screenshot Simon messaging another woman 2 months before our breakup. Same pattern. Love bombing, lying, disappearing. Then another screenshot. Then another. 6 different women, all telling him the same thing. You said you were single. Brianna. He used me to cover for some of these trips. Said we were friends. Me. He told me that too. Brianna. Do you want me to testify? I've kept everything. Me. You'd really do that, Brianna. You're not the first. You should be the last. Her words stuck with me. Caleb was ecstatic when I forwarded everything. This is gold, he said. It's not just about defending you now, it's about establishing pattern behavior. Pattern, I echoed. People like Simon think short-term. Lies pile up until they form evidence. This shows he's repeated the same manipulation with multiple women. That's a behavioral history, Anita. That's powerful in court. He paused, scanning the evidence. You've been dealing with a narcissistic cycle, love, discard, control. The moment you stop feeding it, they implode. So what happens when he implodes? Caleb looked up, his expression sharp. He'll do something reckless. But it'll be the thing that finally buries him. He wasn't wrong. A week later, I received an anonymous envelope at my office. Inside was a printed photo of me leaving my building circled in red ink. No note, no words, just the image. I brought it straight to Caleb. He looked at it for 2 seconds before saying, "This is intimidation. We're adding stalking to the complaint." That night, I got another message, this time from Linda, Simon's mother. Linda, I told him to stop. He said he just wants to make sure you remember him. Me, I won't forget, but not the way he wants. Linda, I believe you, and I'll tell the court I warned him. Her tone carried exhaustion only a parent of someone like Simon could know. Linda, you did the right thing. Don't second guess it. People like my son, they confuse control with love. Don't let him convince you otherwise. I stared at her message long after she went offline. For the first time, I didn't feel hatred. I felt pity. Pity for her, for all the women who'd believed his half-truths, and even for the version of myself that once thought he was different. The next day, Caleb called. Anita, we got a court date. He's representing himself. I blinked. You're kidding. He thinks he can outtalk the law. Narcissists usually do. So this is it. Not yet, but it's close. He leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. Once Simon realizes he can't control your story anymore, that's when he'll really fall apart. Stay ready. I hung up, staring out my window at the quiet street below. He was right. Simon was unraveling. And the louder he screamed his version of the truth, the more the real one began to shine through. The courtroom smelled faintly of dust and coffee, a strange mix of routine and ruin. Simon sat 2 rows ahead of me, wearing a crisp navy suit that didn't quite fit his shoulders. He looked thinner, paler. His eyes darted around like he couldn't decide whether to look sorry or smug. Caleb leaned toward me. Don't look at him, he whispered. He feeds off reactions. Just let the truth do the work. The bailiff called our case. I stood when my name was spoken. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't. Simon was suing me for illegal eviction, defamation, theft of property, and my personal favorite, emotional trauma. The judge looked unimpressed before he even opened his mouth. Mr. Mercer, you're representing yourself. Yes, Your Honor. I believe I can explain everything. He began with the same story he'd been telling everyone online. How I threw him out without warning. How I lied about his belongings. How I spread false rumors to destroy his reputation. He gestured toward me once. She even made my own mother turn against me. Linda, sitting quietly behind me, flinched. The judge finally raised a hand. Do you have evidence, Mr. Mercer? Simon straightened his tie. Screenshots, text messages, and photos of property she refused to return. Caleb stood calm as ever. Your Honor, the defense has verified receipts for every item in question. The plaintiff's screenshots are edited. We've included metadata and timestamps to prove that. He slid a folder across the table. Simon's face fell the moment he saw it. Additionally, Caleb continued. We have documentation of harassment emails, doorstep deliveries, and a photograph sent to Ms. Washington's workplace. We also have video footage of the plaintiff visiting her apartment at 12:43 a.m., uninvited. A ripple went through the courtroom. The judge turned to Simon. Do you dispute this footage? Simon's jaw flexed. I was just returning something. At midnight, I wanted to talk. After she requested no contact, he hesitated, then blurted, She ruined my life. The judge leaned back unimpressed. Sounds like you did that yourself, Mr. Mercer. Caleb called me to the stand next. His questions were simple, factual, steady. I told the truth, how Simon lied about the trip, how I discovered the lake house photos, how I packed his things calmly and followed his own logic. It's not a lie if you just don't tell. I explained how he weaponized social media, sent notes to my door, and stalked me from the street. By the time I finished, the room was silent. Then Caleb said softly, Your Honor, one final exhibit. He pressed play on the courtroom monitor. The footage appeared Simon standing in front of my apartment camera, staring at the lens, his face illuminated by the security light. He didn't say anything, he just watched. The judge's tone turned cold. Mr. Mercer, this behavior is not just harassment, it's intimidation. You're lucky Ms. Washington had the foresight to document it. Simon opened his mouth to argue, but Caleb spoke first. We're requesting a restraining order reimbursement for legal costs and dismissal of his claims with prejudice. The judge nodded. Granted. Just like that, it was over. As the gavel struck, Simon turned toward me, eyes blazing. You think you won? You destroyed me. I stood gathering my papers. No, Simon, I said quietly. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped covering for you. He stepped forward, security already closing in. You're heartless. No, I replied, my voice steady. I just stopped mistaking silence for peace. They pulled him back. His mother watched with tears she didn't bother to hide. Outside the courthouse, the air felt lighter, like the world had finally exhaled. Caleb handed me the finalized restraining order. He's barred from contacting you, your workplace, or your building. If he even texts you, call the police. Thank you, I said, for everything. He gave a faint smile. Don't thank me. You did the hard part facing him without letting him drag you into his storm. Weeks passed. Simon disappeared from social media. The angry messages stopped. Even his name started to feel like a memory, fading in the sun. One evening, I sat on my balcony, sipping tea, listening to the quiet city below. For the first time in months, it wasn't oppressive, it was peaceful. I thought about that conversation we'd had so long ago, his philosophy. It's not lying if I just don't tell you. It used to sound clever, now it sounded pathetic. Because the truth always comes out whether you speak it or not. And sometimes silence can scream louder than words. I closed my eyes and whispered into the night. You were right about one thing, Simon. People do teach you how they want to be treated. You taught